Hello, and thank you for watching this weekly AgWeather update brought to you by Ag Carolina Farm Credit. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of AgriBull Incorporated, and I serve as the director for undergraduate studies in atmospheric science at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. Well, a year ago, this is what we were talking about right now. That little circulation you see right there, just on the western side of the Lesser Antilles, eventually moved across the Caribbean, hit the Yucatan Peninsula, almost broke apart completely, but then reformed here in the Gulf of Mexico to become a Category 4 strength hurricane, which we called Harvey. Harvey made landfall in Texas, and as it did so, became the second most costly U.S. natural disaster ever, at around $125 billion spent on cleaning this up. And Harvey was just the beginning of many, many tropical systems we had to discuss in 2017. Well, thankfully, things are very quiet right now in the tropics, and we should be very happy for that in North Carolina simply because of how wet things have been. What's going on? Well, sea surface temperatures across much of the tropics are still cooler than average. So this is what I've just highlighted here as our main development region. We saw below normal average sea surface temperatures, and that's not good for hurricane development or strength. But the bigger player here, in addition to some dust coming off the Saharan desert, is the fact that we have higher than average wind shear values. That's what's seen in red here. Higher than average wind shear values, which means any would-be system that forms is being basically sheared apart, not allowing the heat to be concentrated, thus not allowing for the formation of big tropical systems. So we're at least going to go another few days, maybe 5+ days, where we're not watching too much in the tropics. What are we watching? Well, we're watching a couple of big features here. This is a satellite image from Sunday, and on Sunday you could see that there was a rather substantially large low pressure system sitting and spinning in the middle part of the country. This will be the main player for the beginning of this week as the system moves on off to the northeast, dragging a front through North and South Carolina, causing us basically the lifting mechanism we're going to need for getting some more showers and storms. But look behind it. Look at all the smoke in the fires here in the western United States and in western Canada. We are still dealing with some incredibly hot and dry conditions, which are just fueling these fires. And I'll tell you this, there's a pretty sizable pattern shift coming that's going to bring in some major relief for the Northwest. But if that happens, that shifts everything for the weather patterns along the East Coast and the Southeast. So let's talk about all of it and put it all together and figure it out. On Sunday, this is what we watched. And this will be the main feature to deal with once we get into the day on Monday. You see, there's a big low pressure system sitting and spinning in the middle part of the country. We had our normal diurnal convection. See, you can watch the thunderstorms blow up here in North and South Carolina on Sunday. So there they go. So that's very typical of this time of year. But what we're going to have to watch is, will the storms that kind of drape to the south of this low pressure center finally get over here to South Carolina and North Carolina, causing some issues? We'll take a look at that in a few seconds. And at the end, will we see a breakdown in the pattern that's led to so much smoke? Look at all of it here. So much smoke and wildfire action out west. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. And let's start off with recent precipitation. Due to the recent thunderstorm activity, look at the map in the bottom left-hand side first. You can see stretching across North Carolina some pockets where thunderstorms kind of followed one another over the last 3 days, bringing in some locations getting over 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. But we know that because of the incredible amount of rainfall we've been receiving over the last several weeks, that drought is really not occupying much at all of anything east of the Mississippi River in the southeast. And we can see here over the last 15 days, we've had a lot of hit or miss showers and thunderstorms, but most of North Carolina has been quite wet. So with that as the setup, what are we expecting to see here? Well, you know that in the last several videos, I've really favored using the European model called the ECMWF. And one of the big reasons why is because it's been more consistent and its model-to-model changes have been, well, much less than the US model called the GFS. And let me give you a good example of this. Last Wednesday, I pulled off this weather forecast map over here on the right. This was when the model was forecasting for Monday night, here on the 20th, where the European model was expecting the low to form, which was basically on the border of Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin. You see, the model was so consistent with this while the U.S. model was not. I'm just going to tell you something. At that far out, look at what it did. You see over here on the left, this is NOAA's map forecast for Monday night, 7 p.m., and it looks almost identical to what the European model was forecasting, way back midweek last week. That's why I'm sticking with it, and this will be the major player that comes through causing problems for us in the southeast. Let's watch it. This is a forecast here put together by the North American Mesoscale model. It is a high-resolution short-range model, runs out 60 hours. What we can see if we kind of just rock this back and forth here is across the state of North and South Carolina, we have the diurnal convection kicking off again on the day on Monday. See the storms just blowing up there? What are they feeding on? The moisture coming off the Atlantic, moisture coming off of the Gulf of Mexico, and there's a boundary hanging out right in through here. So just more storms, normal pop-up convection on Monday, and then it will be on Tuesday into Wednesday that the front finally comes through that region from the low pressure system that gives us another chance of storms. So our week is going to be just highlighted with a lot of thunderstorm activity, at least through midweek. Now, to show you what this all looks like, check this out, because once this system goes through, things are going to change for us, okay? So I'm going to show you my 6-panel plots. I got temperature and dew point on the left. I have, in top middle there, I've got upper level flow. Below that, I got instability in the atmosphere, and I got a radar animation in the upper right and winds in the bottom right. Okay, with that in mind, here's the trough moving through the Corn Belt. Now, there's the trough. You're going to watch to the south of it as the front, which is better seen over here in the radar animation, moves over into the Carolinas. First things first, overnight on Sunday into Monday morning, we're still dealing with widely scattered showers and storms. That's going to reignite in the day on Monday. So there it is again. See that? This is now Monday midday. You can see the showers and storms blowing up there again. But watch as the upper level low, producing the surface low pressure system, finally drags its front through the Carolinas on Tuesday into Wednesday. And once it comes through there, I'll kind of rock back and forth. That's going to end your chances of a lot of showers and thunderstorms for at least the following 2 to 3 days. Why is that? Well, behind that low pressure system is a large area of high atmospheric pressure. It brings in drier air. It brings in a reduction in the moisture transport off the ocean by basically flipping the winds around. And that brings in, just nicer conditions. So we're going to start off the week stormy, get to the end of the week, and we're going to be seeing higher atmospheric pressure dominating things. So those are the big players in the near term. What are we looking at from the European model in terms of total accumulated precipitation? Well, if I play this out 10 days, what you can basically see here is we keep on this thunderstorm, this active thunderstorm pattern. Now, what we're going to see specifically here, let's grab this and take it back, is you can see here's getting us through the day on Monday, the widely scattered showers and storms. By the time Tuesday night into Wednesday rolls around, the front from the low pressure system moving through the Corn Belt gets to North Carolina, bringing a chance of storms. We then don't see much adding at all. Look at this, much adding at all from the end of the week through the weekend because higher air pressure dominates. But we will see the potential for more widely scattered showers and storms under this new flow regime, which we've really got to talk about. Because we've been seeing this. Are you ready? We have favored, let's clear that off of there. We have favored a low pressure center sitting in the Gulf of Alaska, which gives us a big ridge out west. That's why the west is burning. And we have seen multiple troughs that have come through basically the central plains all the way over to the Carolinas, which is why the first 18 days of the month of August here has really seen across the Carolinas near average to at points cooler than average weather. Well, watch the changes that are coming. First things first, here goes the trough that's going to cause us some, unsettled weather to start the week. It moves through. Now, as it moves through, it's going to keep us relatively cool throughout much of this week. We have a second trough that starts to move into Montana, and that's important. I know it's way over there, but it's important because if a trough digs in the northwest, a ridge typically builds in the southeast. And here it comes for next weekend. You're going to get through this week, cool. But when this ridge builds in, our temperatures are going to go right back up. We're going to go back into that diurnal convective pattern, which just means a lot of hit or miss showers and thunderstorms under the intense heat of the day. And as I stretch this out all the way to 10 days, look at what the atmosphere is going to do. Big ridge here, south of Alaska in the Gulf of Alaska. Elongated trough. And it piles back up into a large ridge over the east. So, with a big ridge forming here, it is going to get hot again. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This next animation, this is 5-day sliding window temperature anomalies. This is what it looks like Monday through Friday of this week. As I animate, watch the flow pattern adjust, giving us the warmer than average temperatures. There they finally pile in. That's what happens when you build a ridge sitting over this part of the country while a trough digs in just like this over the west. So these are the important factors we are going to be watching very, very carefully as we move throughout the next 15 days, getting us to the end of August and beginning of September. And again, I've only showed you the European model because it's been my best performer. Speaking of the European model, it released its long-range outlook for this upcoming December, January, and February. And we're going to start to build a discussion each week about what we're expecting to see for late fall and winter. And one of the big players will be this. What it is highlighted for you here across the Western Pacific is an El Nino event. Now, what's up in the air is we don't know how strong it's going to be just yet, but we do see that it's going to be really centered right here in the equatorial Pacific. That's much different from some of the big El Ninos we've had in the past, like the one from 2015-16 or like the 1997 one, where the warm water stretched all the way down here to the South American western coast. We don't see that. We actually see what we call a Modoki El Nino. And this will be very important to watch the Western Pacific because ultimately that will set up the jet stream pattern that will govern what's going to happen across the southeast throughout this winter. We'll combine that with what goes on in the North Atlantic to come up with a week-by-week forecast for you. But in the meantime, I want you to know that I'm watching this El Nino feature out here in the Pacific Ocean that could be a dominant player for our weather this winter. So with that, I'm going to go and wrap up this forecast video. We at Ag Carolina thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to producing another video next week and hope you look forward to watching it. Thank you.